but I wanted to talk about the brilliant youths, the brilliant and important youths who are out here doing important things, like texting each other about how much they love Hitler. But to start, let's look at this clip from friend of the show, JD Vance. Now, I'm sure many of you saw the article that I'm going to look at in a second, where it was revealed that a lot of these like weird little guys, oh, it's doing the weird thing. These weird little kids were messaging each other pretty insane stuff, pretty nuts stuff. And this was JD Vance's reaction, which I just found kind of funny. So we'll watch this first, and then we'll get into this article.
Because we have such a big problem with left-wing political violence, we have to train the investigatory and law enforcement powers of the government to focus on that particular problem. Now, I think Scott maybe has the most important part of this, because a lot of this is financial, right? If a brick gets thrown through a wall in a government building, who bought the brick? If somebody shows up and is a paid protester, but then that person goes and riots and commits an act of violence.
They're still doing the paid protester thing. Been a lot of protests. I would be a paid protester. No one's ever offered me money. Shout it out in the chat if you've been a paid protester. We won't snitch.
Who paid for it? If you have an application that's helping people hunt down or even avoid law enforcement officers,
yes.
They're talking about apps that let people know if ICE agents are raiding their neighborhoods.
If you're helping immigrants avoid illegal immigrants avoid ICE enforcement, but you're helping people actually target the law enforcement officers who are trying to enforce our immigration laws, well, who's paying for the hosting there? Who's paying for the programming? Yeah. There's an entire financial element of this, but we really have to retrain.
Look at this gang of heroes right here. You know, I look at these guys, and it's like a holy trinity of those who will lead us into the future.
The entire government to focus on this left-wing violence problem. We're doing it. It's going to go a little bit more slowly than we'd like, but we are doing it because we have such a big.
Yeah, and this is in that clip, I guess he said, and this is from the Bulwark. Grow up. Focus on the real issues. Don't focus on what kids say in group chats. The reality is that kids do stupid things, especially young boys. They tell edgy, offensive jokes. That's what kids do. Now, that is in reference to this article that came out on Politico, I think yesterday or the day before. It's an exclusive. And in this exclusive article, messages were leaked from elite young Republicans. Thousands of private messages reveal young GOP leaders joking about gas chambers, slavery, and rape. And you know, to not shout out, sorry, I just saw in the chat. So Michael Kennedy said ancestral curse level blunt rotation about that group of guys. That is amazing. But, you know, I do think there's something to be said, and I mean this quite genuinely, for the idea that we can sometimes say or do dumb shit privately that we wouldn't do in public, that we might make jokes with our friends that we might not make in a public facing position. And there's a level of that, which I totally get. Of course, Mez points out in the chat, just don't make edgy jokes about Charlie Kirk because they will deport you. They literally did that to, I think, at least 8 people. But I'm like comfortable with that to a level, probably more so than many. But I do think it's different when we're talking about people actively involved in politics and organizing, doing it in a semi-official context. What I mean by that is, I don't know, if I was like at a bar with one of my friends, it'd probably be my friend Philip or my friend Dave, maybe my friend Matthew. I'm trying to think of friends that I can say semi-problematic stuff with. And I had like 2.5 beers and said something like kind of dumb, and you overheard me. I get it. Like, that might not be the coolest, but I said it with a couple friends over beverages or maybe referencing a movie we watched in the early 2000s. It'd be different if, you know, messages leaked from me and the team who work on the channel with me, and we were saying real fucked up stuff, because that would maybe be reflective of things. Or even worse, if I was involved in some political organizing capacity, or like a DSA thread leaked where a bunch of people were saying horrific stuff, then yeah, I get it. So let's talk about these young men. And in case you haven't seen these before, here's a montage of some of the things that the brilliant young minds have said. Leaders of young Republican groups throughout the country worried what would happen if their Telegram chat ever got leaked. but they kept typing anyways. Guys, if you're ever worried about something getting leaked, just don't put it in writing. They referred to this is bad. Because I keep it 100 and I live my raps, I normally try to like not fully read stuff before we talk about it here because I don't want the reactions to not be actual. Fuck, they referred to black people as monkeys and watermelon people. Sometimes I like to mumble this stuff because I don't want you all to steal clips. And muse about putting their political opponents in gas chambers. They talked about raping their enemies and driving them to suicide, and lauded Republicans who believe support slavery. William Hendricks. That sucks to be named Hendricks and suck. It's such a cool name, cool musical legacy. Of the Kansas Young Republicans vice chair used the words, the N word, and so he spelled the N word in different ways more than a dozen times. That one's nuts. Never a good excuse to be out here doing the N word. That one just kind of never makes good sense. Hold on one second. These friggin' kids. Let's see. Bobby Walker, the vice chair of the New York State Young Republicans, referred to rape as epic. Peter Giunso, who at the time was chair of the same organization, wrote in a message sent in June that everyone that votes no is going to the gas chamber. He was referring to an upcoming vote on whether he should become chair of the Young Republicans National Federation. He said, I'm going to create some of the greatest physiological torture methods known to man. We only want true believers. 2 people responded. Everyone that votes no is going to the gas chamber. That's cool stuff. When do we start bullying, dude? We have a solid 3 people who can probably have them want to jump. If they vote for us, why would they be gassed? When do we bring that side out? Can we fix the showers? Gas chambers don't fit the Hitler aesthetic. I'm ready to watch people burn now. We got to pretend, then be like, hey, come in, take a nice shower and relax. Boom, they're dead. Cool. These are texts and reactions from Peter Grint to Bobby Walker, Ann K. Katie, Joe Maligno, Rachel Hope. Rachel, I hope you have a good lawyer, and Alex Dwyer. Can we fix the shower? Oh, yeah, it's not good. The exchange is part of a trove of Telegram chats obtained by Politico and spanning more than 7 months of messages among young Republican leaders in New York, Kansas, Arizona, and Vermont. It offers an unfiltered look at how a new generation of GOP activists talk when they think no one is listening. Now, again, it's not like I think. It's not like I think that all of the politicians on all of the sides or that like the other party is all good and these people are all bad or whatever. But we just have to remind ourselves, these are people who are orienting their lives and their social existence, their professional existence and ambition around politics. Like they want political power. And you have to ask yourself, like, what are people who talk like this to each other privately going to do when or if they get power? You know, it's like the old thing that Socrates gets into in the Republic, where they're talking about who could be a good political leader in the city. And Plato via Socrates basically says the only good leader would be the one who wanted to lead because of how bad the other guys would be. The idea there is those who would desire that level of power do not possess the sort of virtue to do that. Someone said, to be fair, leftists advocate for cannibalism. I'm not aware of the leftist cannibals, so we'll see. Oh my God, 2,900 pages of chat shared among a dozen millennial and Gen Z Republicans chronicled their campaign to seize control of the National Young Republican Organization on a hardline pro-Donald Trump platform. Many of the chat members already work inside government or party politics, and one serves as a state senator. Together, the messages reveal a culture where racist, anti-Semitic, and violent rhetoric circulate freely, and where the Trump era loosening of political norms has made such talk feel less taboo. I mean, we've talked about this here before. Everyone's talked about it. So much of the contemporary Trump era is just like, we can say slurs again. And, to be fair, I'll be fair here. When I came of age at a time where when I was a 13-year-old boy, I could say things that we can't say now. So sure, did I get the experience of stupidly saying transgressive things that are no longer kosher? Yes, I did. The difference was we hadn't gone through like a large-scale cultural reckoning where we learned why those things were offensive and not cool to say. So what I'm saying is my toxic masculinity was okay because it happened in the late 90s, early 2000s. Theirs is not okay. The more the political atmosphere is open and liberating, like it's been with the emergence of Trump and more right-wing GOP before him, it opens up young people and older people to telling racist jokes, making racist commentaries in private and public, said Joe Fegan, a Texas A&M sociology professor who studied racism for the last 60 years. That's a fun 60 years. He's also concerned the words be applied to public policy. It's chilling because they will act on these views. And I do think that is important to recognize. Like, I don't want to be over linguistically deterministic, but the language that we use and the communities of language that we participate in affect how we think about the world and ourselves. And if we cultivate and allow environments where it's normal to talk about the world like this, I think it's going to affect the consciousness, nay, the souls of the young dudes and MK or whoever, and MK Ultra, who speak like this. That's why it's important to speak to people that aren't like us. That's why it's important to be as open-minded as reasonably possible. It's important to be curious. It's important to read new books and watch documentaries and listen to podcasts and listen to music and put yourself out there in the world so that your entire worldview and conception of politics and social reality isn't something constructed in communities like this. I know, user 50, I'm saying crazy stuff right now. I'm basically a conspiracist. I'm getting pretty woo-woo. The dynamic of easy racism and casual cruelty played out often in dark, vivid fashion inside the chats where campaign talk and party gossip blurred into streams of slurs and violent fantasies. Oh, is this one of the Goombas who did it? Of course it is. Of course. Of course. It's this Italian boy, this guy, Long Island's finest, who's out there saying stuff. Listen, racism towards Italians is allowed in this. Italian Americans is allowed in these. But of course, it's this guy. Like, of course it's this guy. I mean, it's also too. I'm not trying to like body or like look shame. Although he's going bald, he needs to reckon with that and stop doing the comb over. I say this is a bald man. I say it from a place of participating in the same community as him. I'm calling him in. I'm not calling him out. Mez, I'm sorry I got too woke. But, a Goomba. Dapper Cat said, say it right. Guy's going to have to shave his head at some point. You should reckon with that. But it's like, these are the guys who like look in the air and they're like, it's me, the master race. Hello, everyone. My DNA should be everywhere. They should sell it in vials at 7-Eleven next to Zyn pouches. Any woman, any girl who wants to create a warrior king can buy it next to the Zyn pouches and just put it inside. I don't know how it works. I've never seen sex happen. I assume there's tubes. There's always tubes. The group chat members spoke freely about the pressure to cow to Trump to avoid being called a rhino, the love of Nazis within the party's right wing, and the president's alleged work to suppress documents related to Epstein. Trump's too busy burning the Epstein files, Alec Dwyer, the chair of the Kansas crew, said. Dwyer and Kay Katie declined to comment. Smart. But some involved in the chat did respond. Shocking that our Goomba Prince responded. Guyunta claimed the release of the chat as part of a highly coordinated year-long character assassination led by Gavin Wax and the New York City Young Republican Club. An allusion to a once obscured internecine warrant that has now spilled into the open. I'm going to keep doing this horrible Italian accent, just so you know when I read it. So just you can mute, fast forward, or go on a walk. These logs were sourced by way of extortion and provided, and I realize the accent's different this time than it was the last time. He's growing. Provided to Politico by the very same people conspiring against me. What's most disheartening is that despite my unwavering support of President Trump since 2016, rogue members of his administration, including Gavin Wax, have participated in this conspiracy to ruin me publicly simply because I challenged them privately. Wax, a staffer in the State Department, formerly led the New York Young Republican Club. He declined to comment. Despite his allusions to infighting, Giunta still apologized. I'm sorry to those offended by the insensitive and inexcusable language found within the more than 28,000 messages of a private group chat that I created during my campaign to lead to Young Republicans. While I take complete responsibility, I have had no way of verifying their accuracy, and I'm deeply concerned that the message logs in question may have been deceptively doctored. At least one person in Telechat works in the Trump administration. Wow. A notarized affidavit signed by Bartels sheds light on the intra-party rivalry that led to Restore Your War Room. He wrote that he did not give Politico the chat. Yada, yada, yada. One second, guys. Reminder that our friend producer Henry's going to come on and chat with us in a bit when it's happy hour time. Walker leads New York State Republicans. He touched on a similar theme, saying that they may have been altered. I mean, that's like the shitty thing, is that because of how easy it is to make fake shit, I feel like it's now easier to get away with doing insane shit because it's more viable or reasonable than ever that you could just say someone made the insane shit. You know what I mean? Like, it's easier because let's just do whatever, because you can just say it was doctored. It's not hard. Mixed into formal conversations about whipping votes, social media strategy, and logistics, the members of the chat slung around an array of slurs. They said the F slur, I mean, the article says it, so retarded, and the N word 251 times. I mean, to be honest, going to middle school in Central Florida in the late 90s and early 2000s, this was just like a normal bus ride to school. In one instance, Walker talked about how a mutual friend dated this very obese Indian woman. Giunta responded, the woman was not Indian. She just didn't bathe often. The problem with not pre-reading some of this is I'm doing like a funny thing that I think is funny. And then it gets to a part like this, and I'm like, oh boy, that's great. In a separate conversation, Giunta shared that his flight to Charleston landed safely. Then he offered some advice. If your pilot is a she, and she looks 10 shades darker than someone from Sicily, just end it there. Scream the no-no word. Scream the no-no word. I get on the airplane. Are you darker than an Italian? No. This fucking guy. Douglas did not respond to request. Someone said it's shocking. Who's this guy? That's Bobby Walker. There's Bobby. Imagine just getting called like a slur by this guy. Imagine this guy just slurring you up. You never go full. Okay. Let's see. Make sure I have this lined up right. Make sure I have everything lined up right. Reminder, we're starting happy hour in a few. I'll take a little break. Happy hour brought by our new partner, Years Beer. They partner with us, and they partner with John Mulaney. True story. We're in rare air. This private rhetoric isn't happening in a vacuum. It comes in a widespread, of course, the broader political discourse, yada, yada. Let's see. And it says, only an activist left-wing reporter would desperately try to tie President Trump into a story about a random group chat that has no affiliation, while failing to mention the dangerous smears coming from Democratic politicians who have fantasized about murdering their opponent and called Republicans Nazis and fascists. She said, no one. She's like, they call us Nazis. Why? Because the Young Republican Club has a group chat where they say Nazi stuff, big dog. No one has been subjected to more vicious rhetoric and violence than President Trump and his supporters. No one in the history of the planet had been more oppressed than Donald Trump and his supporters. Nobody. Nope. No exceptions. In the Restore Your Warrior Room chat, Giunta tells his fellow Republicans that he spoke with the White House about an endorsement from Trump for his bid to become chairman of the Federation. They decided to stay neutral. I like how they didn't even say no, they stayed neutral. Holy crap. Giunta doesn't stop. When Luke Mosselman, the chair of the Arizona Republicans, asked if the New Yorkers were watching an NBA playoff game, Giunta responded, I'd go to the zoo if I wanted to watch monkey play ball. He elsewhere refers to black people as the watermelon people. Hendricks made a similar remark. He said, bro is at a chicken restaurant ordering his food. Would he like some watermelon and Kool-Aid with that? That is Hendricks. That is Hendricks right there. That's our guy. That's our guy. That's our boy right there. Purple haze all in his brain. Nazi haircuts don't look the same. Again, I'm not trying to be like like at all body shaming or anything, but it's like you just got to look a certain way if you're going to get away with this. You know what I mean? You don't get to do master race rhetoric if this is your vibe. He said he's drawn to Missouri's Young Republican Organization because Missouri doesn't like F slurs. But I'm sure they love you, William. They reached out to Daniel Herbert, a spokesman for the Attorney General. In response, Herbert said that we are aware of the issue raised in your article. They said that Hendricks is no longer employed. I had some back and forth with the VC in Michigan. We have a call. He said my delegates will vote for the most right-wing person. PG Peter Gunther said, "Great, I love Hitler." Jesus, man. Giunta, who serves, this guy is just really out here. This guy's really out. Oh, he was endorsed by Elise Stefanik. She's cool. Stefanik got an award from them. She lauded Giunta for his tremendous leadership. Oh, she was appalled to learn about it. They were so appalled. She never saw that chat room thread. Their rhetoric, normalized at most points as dark humor, mirrors some popular conservative political commentators, podcasters, and comedians amid a natural erosion of what's considered acceptable discourse. Giunta's line on a darker skinned pilot, for example, echoes one used by slain conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Yeah, Charlie Kirk, National Medal of Freedom of Honor, National Freedom, Martyred Medal of Freedom honoree Charlie Kirk said, "If I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified." They also use the moniker Eye Patch McCain to reference Dan Crenshaw. I don't know. Art Gibson, great name, a professor at the University of Dayton who specializes in white racial extremism, surmised the young Republicans in the chat were influenced by Trump's language. I mean, that's the problem too, is like you see people, whether it's like Trump or all the comedy guys talk like this, and you kind of think that like you can't really get away with it. They talked about Nazi edits, pro-Nazi fascism propaganda. Rachel Hope loved it. They didn't want to lose the Kansas delegation. Oh, wow. They're in a hotel room with its room 1488 because that ties in to a white supremacist slogan. The Orange County Teenage Republican Organization. Any place Orange County, they're going to love this shit. They support slavery and all that shit. Mega based. Cool. Vicious words for enemies. They speak about their personal lives too. Stay in the closet. Okay. My people built the train tracks with the Chinese, Walker said, referring to his Italian ancestors. Let his people go. Okay, so some Asian slurs, some rape jokes, some sex stuff. I mean, it's okay, and there's some I'm just gonna highlight some stuff now. That's the sort of stuff that they're saying. There's another one of them. They all kind of look like a different version of the same guy. The Minnesota ones are F slurs. This is Giunta. Giunta is kind of the king of these guys. Arkansas, inbred cow fuckers. Nebraska, revolt in our favor, blocked their buying, have a majority of their delegates. Maryland, fat, stinky Jew. Rhode Island, traitorous C words, who I will eradicate from the face of this planet. He also planned to make one of the competing young Republicans unalive himself on the convention floor. At least he said unalive, I guess. They did some anti-Semitism because why not? While reporting this article, Politico is examining a separate allegation that Giunta and the Young Republicans and Spanish New York organization's finances. I would trust Giunta with my life. I drained 10K tonight to pay for my next vacation to Italy. Giunta appeared to joke about the organization's bank account. I spent it on a massage, he said of another check. Oh my God, this Giunta guy. Come on the show. Giunta. So this is how Republicans, little like Republican boys, just talk when they're hanging out. Should we be shocked? No, we shouldn't be shocked. None of this is too surprising. This is the stuff these people do. I see comments here like, behold the master race. It still sucks though. It still sucks. It makes me think back to the conversation we had a couple weeks ago that was in reference to Afemi Otaiwo's article about shame culture. And I do think we have to, I both don't like cancellation culture in an aggressive form. And I also think that there has to be some level of shame passed out for stuff like this. It's just a level of dehumanization that's not good. I don't like it. I don't love it. And I don't want more of it. Hey, thanks for watching this. In case you didn't know, I have a main channel where I post video essays and stuff like that. It's just called Michael Burns. There's a link. Would love for you to check that out. If you want to support the channel more, I have a Patreon. You can also hit up either of my beverage partners. There's Yes Please Coffee, who make the best gosh darn coffee in the world. You get 15% off with the code Burns Beans. And of course, my beloved new non-alcoholic beer sponsor, Years Beers. It's really good. There's a link below, and if you use it, you get 10% off your first order. So thank you so much. And if you ever want to watch these streams live, I'm live every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Pacific. Okay, now the videos, now it's really over. So now you can go. I'm going to finish this. Now it's over. I'll see you guys for the next one.